Hey guys, and welcome back to another video from our Tkinter Extras series. In this video, we'll take a look at the Tkinter after method. So what is the Tkinter after method? Well, it's a special function in Tkinter that allows us to execute a block of code or execute a function after a specific period of time, right? So let's say that you click a button and you want a specific effect to trigger after 5 seconds. So how are you going to do that? Well, you can do that using the Tkinter after method, right? So there isn't much to explain about this function. It's pretty straightforward. So let's just get right into it, and we'll show you 2 or 3 examples so that you can actually see how to properly use this. So I'm going to create a function here called delete. Then I'm going to write this in here, root.destroy. So what does root.destroy do? Well, if you haven't watched my video on destroying widgets in Tkinter, the destroy function, if you call it on a widget, it destroys that widget. And since we're calling it on the root over here, which is the Tkinter instance, which is the Tkinter window, it'll destroy the Tkinter window along with everything in it. All right. So what this function basically does is shuts down your Tkinter application. Okay. So let's say you're in a situation where you want to cause a delayed shutting down of your Tkinter window. You don't want to shut it down immediately, right? Otherwise, you would just call this function right here. So in this case, you would use the Tkinter after method, all right, to cause a delayed shutdown of your Tkinter window. So I'm going to do root.after, all right? And in the first parameter, I'm going to pass in the time that I want it to wait before calling the function I give it. So by default, this takes time in milliseconds, as do most libraries, honestly, related to time. So let's say I want to give this 3,000, 3 seconds, 3,000 milliseconds, 3 seconds, okay? And then I'll give this delete over here. And remember, do not include the parentheses over here, all right? Otherwise, they'll be counted as a function call, not the function name, all right? Let's run this. Okay, here's our window. And there you go. After roughly 3 seconds, it got destroyed. You see? Okay, I just want to show you one more example real quick, and then I want to actually compare the Tkinter after method and the sleep function, which I'm pretty sure most of you use, and which is actually wrong. More into that later. So yeah, let me just remove this here and create a few widgets. All right, my label is equal to tk.label self dot sorry use to object oriented there. What is that? This is some black text. All right. Place. All right. So what I want to do is change the color of this label. All right. By default, the color is black, right? So I'll make a function here called update. Okay, and my label dot config is used to alter the parameters of a widget after it's already been created. And then I'll do foreground is equal to red, right? And of course I have to make this properly, update over here, okay? Or you know what, let's make a button for this, all right? It'll look more proper that way. Text is equal to change color. Command, oh, I hope this works. I mean, it should. Okay, this will be a little tricky. Lambda x. Let me just try this. This is the first time I'm trying this myself. Hopefully it works. Yeah, sorry, I need to remove that. There won't be any parameters. All right. And let's try this out. Okay, so here's our button and there's our text. Okay, why did that happen by itself? Oh, right. That's because of this. Okay, now let's try this. Okay, nothing will happen unless we press the button. All right. And there you go. We changed the color. Okay, so why did I do this? Now, of course, you can always go with the simpler method of just writing it down over here. All right. But there's no real practical value to this. I mean, what's the point of just writing it down there? It's not really gonna help you in a real life scenario, where you want the action to be actually triggered by something like the button. So the reason why I used the lambda over here is because this needed to have parameters, all right? And I told you earlier that if you include parameters, it gets counted as a function call, right? So if I just wrote this, okay, let me show you what's gonna happen. Okay, I'm not doing anything. And there you go, the color changed because this was treated as a function call, not as a function name. So what I'm doing here with the lambda is basically it's sort of ignoring this part, all right? It's just looking at the command parameter is just looking at the lambda, which has no parameters, all right? No brackets. So basically what's happening is that the button is calling the lambda, and which is calling the root.after method, right? We're not directly calling root.after with the button, okay? So yeah, it's a bit tricky, but if you think about it hard enough and you actually try it out for yourself, you'll understand more, right? And if you maybe don't know about the lambda, then you should go actually and take a look at it, in a separate tutorial. So yeah, and let's just remove this now. All right, that's enough for that. As I mentioned earlier, I want to compare the time.sleep and Tkinter.after. So a lot of people, when they want to create a delay, like make this happen after 5 seconds, they use time.sleep on a basic level, right? This is a problem, right? This is not the right technique. And well, actually, you know what? Let's just begin, all right? Then you'll understand perfectly fine along the way. Print something, all right? Print this is the text in the function, okay? Now watch this. Print before the after call, all right? And I'm going to do print something. Sorry, hold on. Root.after 2000, and print after the after call. So what do you think is going to happen? Will this execute first or this? Let's see. Okay. And now look at this. Before the after call, this ran first, and then this ran, all right, and then this ran. Why did this run last? Because it was delayed, right? It was delayed for 2 seconds. So what happens if I do the same thing, but instead I do this with time.sleep? Let's take a look at that. Okay, I'll just write print something here, okay, and I'll do time.sleep 2, okay. Oof, sorry about that. Import time, okay. Now watch this. Now you saw first that there was a delay, right? This printed out and then there was a 2-second delay. Keep that in mind, don't forget. Now this one printed first, before the after call printed first, all right? That's normal. And then after 2 seconds, this was printed out. This is the text in the function. This was printed out. And then this was called. So if you haven't already guessed, what time.sleep does is pauses your entire program, all right? So once you reach this and then this function was called, it froze your entire program for 2 seconds until this print statement was executed. And then that's why this one was printed out last, because the execution did not proceed past this point. This is actually a major flaw. I mean, it depends on what you're doing, but if you're trying to do something like cooldowns, right? Like, let's imagine you're making a game, all right, and you want, well, let's say that the enemy is poisoned, all right, and you want to deduct his health by 5 every second, all right. So let's say that you use time.sleep. Now, what's gonna happen is that it'll freeze the entire game until the enemy's health has been deducted. Whereas if you use Tkinter.after, which moves in parallel with the program flow, it'll work perfectly fine. Like the program will be executing normally, and the Tkinter.after will execute the function it's supposed to after 2 seconds. Let me just undo this quickly so we can take a look at the current, sorry, after the after call. So yeah, this is the proper method, all right? Do not use time.sleep unless you're making something really simple, and unless you actually know what you're doing. You know that the program is going to freeze up and that you won't be able to do anything else until that period is over, all right? So if you're aware of all that and it fits your requirements, then all right. Otherwise, if you're using Tkinter, use the after method. If you're using Pygame, you can check out the event and timer system, which is basically a pretty advanced timer system, like Tkinter. Just about every library has something like the after method, whether it be a GUI library or a game library. They usually have such features, so you don't need to worry. All right, you just need to know where to look, and you'll find it. All right, like Pygame in its event system. All right. So yeah, that's about it for this video. We've covered everything there is to know about the after method, and we've covered a lot of bonus stuff as well, like time.sleep. So yeah, if you want to see more content like this in the future and more videos like this about Tkinter, make sure to subscribe, because we'll be covering obviously a lot more. All right, the new series coming out. There's more content coming out. All right. So yeah, be sure to subscribe and see you in a later video.